I'm like the smallest company in town, and in a year I make what you make in a day. And I'm like, seriously, how does this work?
It's a lot of little things kind of get in the way, especially when you're doing something like that, because as a team, we couldn't go out and ask for sponsorship. Everybody like, for what?
So should we tell them about Fish Tank? Finish talking about what it's like to be a coach with a team. You saw things that could happen that did, most likely, and it's like a parent. What happened? So tell us what happened in the competition. Well, how did you place?
We finished in 7th.
Okay.
Which was kind of, after competing in Chile, kind of said, hey, looking at what was there, and the European Cup had already happened, and the Asian Cup had happened. So I'm a numbers kind of guy, so I went back and I had to do a lot of work to pull this off. Like I had to figure out how many judges there were, how many courses there were, because they do points, they don't do averages for those competitions. So I really had to go back and look and see. So if there's 5 judges, there'd be 500 points. If there were 4 judges, there'd be 400.
Okay.
So trying to figure out where everybody like maxed out at, and it was funny because I forgot I had said it to them. I mean, I forget a lot lately, but I said to them, I go, if we do what we did here in Chile, I said we are 7th place or higher. Oh. And then as soon as they announced 3, 2, 1, and then
Who was 3, 2, 1?
Oh my gosh, that's funny. See, I forget. 3 was Italy, 2 was France, 1 was Japan.
Okay.
And then everybody's like, hey, and all the teams that did win are like, hey.
Wait. For the edit, go slow.
Okay. So Italy was 3rd.
Picture.
France was 2nd.
Picture.
Japan was 1st.
Picture. This is what we're working on our editing. Yeah, picture.
In his hands.
Because our editor's like, well, why didn't you tell me? I'm like, so I'm like, I'm telling you. I'm put it right there.
Don't screw it up, man. You got one job.
No, but the other thing is we got to get the pictures from you. So you're our dealer.
So I don't have pictures of them on the podium though.
That's okay. Just pictures just in general to give the flavor.
So they were. Then everybody else is kind of like, hey, we didn't. We were standing by UK, and I'll tell you, UK was solid, man. They were solid. They got 4th.
By a point, probably.
It was a little more than that.
Wow.
I mean, Jill still talks about my team because we were so close to 3rd. We were right there.
The 4th.
We were right there. It was like, oh, if you guys would have wiped the counter one more time. No, but then they. They've got projector screens in the back where they play all the videos and obnoxious music, and all the sponsors are up there. And they throw the thing up there, and I think it was Francois, he hits me on the arm and he goes, hey, you were right, 7th. And I was like, I didn't want to be right, I said 7th or higher. Higher was the goal. But out of all the teams that went down to the Cup of the Americas, we were the highest scoring, and we knew we had spent a lot of our budget to go to Chile. Half of our budget went just to go to Chile. So, we worked with what we had, and we had a little bit of help from some of the sponsors, but it wasn't the full budget to get ready to go to France and just,
Slowly for the camera, name the team.
Which team?
Your team, the team members.
Man. So Team USA was Francois Bayway, Julie Esslinger, and Jordan Snyder.
See, we're learning. Perfect. It'll get edited perfectly.
I learn really quick.
I know, right? I thought you were
hit me over the head twice.
I thought you were going to make up some name like Wile E. Coyote.
No, I don't want to mispronounce anyone's name.
So the team, how did the team feel?
I really think that sums it up. They were. I've been listening to podcasts recently. They were all on, and they all they feel the same way. You look back as soon as it's over, right? You start looking back, and you say, "Well, if I could have done this, if I could have done that." I think the biggest key to competition is that you have to be. You can look back and say, next time. That's how I would do it. I would look at it and go, next time I would do this differently. Not we should have done this. We should have done that. You have to stand up and be proud of what you did and stand next to what you did and feel good about it. Otherwise, before you left, you weren't happy with what you were doing. You know what I mean? If somebody you could have come in and told us throw it all away and change it to this or flip that piece to that medium, whatever. And if we would have switched it just because you said to do that, or if I'm an individual and I'm doing that, then at the end of the day, I go, well, Michael screwed me up because I didn't do better than I did. But if I were to take your advice, then that is me, yes, owning what you said, and I accept full responsibility for what I did. Not they. Listen, man, 7th place in the world, right? It's not just, everyone's like, 7th place. Oh my God, do not edit that. Do not edit that in a weird way, man.
Yeah.
No, but that's what it is, right? 7th place in the world. Because like when I tell people, our team got 4th, everyone's like, oh, you just missed it. I'm like, dude, that's the world.
Yeah.
Everybody wasn't there, but they all had a chance to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Every country had a chance to be there, and they weren't.
I think that's a big comment. I would lead with that in what the Coupe du Monde is, that just by being there as a competitor is a pretty big deal to arrive. Now, with the team, so you've competed a gazillion times. What's the detox process? You come back and then what? You're a little different than them, but let's say.
No, it's all the same.
Okay.
By the time you're done, so when I did it, it was different, right? They got blocked for 2 years by COVID. But it was still, I think it was still in their minds. And then when we came back, it was almost a year ago. It was a year ago this past weekend that we had our first practice to go in January. Think about that. That's not a whole lot of time.
What practice was I at?
That was one of the October or September.
It was getting chilly. Okay.
Yeah. So normal competition, right? You would try out late winter, early spring. And 3-4 weeks after that, you would have your first practice.
Okay.
And this is the first time we've had to go to a continental selection. So that was April to June, or July to July. So we had April to July to focus on that, and then they came back and it would start all over again. So every time, competitor, okay, woohoo, I made it through the tryouts, I pulled it off, yay. Whew, man, and a lot of people are like, oh, thank you, I've made it. But the work's just starting, right? Because now you have to get to know the other people. So then you are on adrenaline, 100% adrenaline, whether or not you realize it, from the day you're on that team until the day you compete. And when that competition's over, it is just like, boom, you're wiped. It's gone. There's no more adrenaline there. So for me, even this time, even though I didn't compete, it's like a good solid 2 months of I am not doing anything extra for anybody, and I'm taking naps all the time.
When was the competition?
In January.
Oh, we're just like clockwork. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
What was your budget? All in, what happened? Because I know people bring their own resources too.
I don't know. I honestly don't know what the team's budget is.
Oh.
And I put myself in that position for a good reason.
Okay.
Well, I didn't have...
What's your guess?
I would say probably about 100,000, 150,000. That'd be a good guess.
I want you to say the ideal sponsorship, so we edited in there.
For how much a sponsor should,
or
how much we would need total.
A team to
okay.
Move ahead, just say, the ideal sponsorship for a team of this caliber, camera 2.
So the team had about $150,000.
No. I want you to say, skip that. We don't want them to hear the lowest.
Oh, you want?
I want this to be a money-making moment for you.
Oh.
For the team. Because when you run Team USA, and someone sees this...
Now it's got to be an extra 100,000 because I'm running it.
You see where I'm headed?
No, I know. No, I think, I really think the ideal budget for the team is about $500,000, because if it's not, you can't, you're trying to play in the major leagues, and we have another challenge these teams have. So here's a great story for you. So Team Italy, they left home the morning that we had the competitors meeting. They left Italy that morning. We were already there for like 10 days.
Wow.
Think about that. So, you're still sleeping in your own bed. You're eating all your own food. We're over here,
acclimating to the water.
Getting used to the time change, eating a lot of cheese and stuff.
So say where that 500,000 goes. Because a lot of people don't know how much gets burned before you even show up.
Well, and that's the thing. A lot of that money is spent before we show up, because the team, it's really hard. And back to what I said about Pastry Live, right? I picked Nancy for good partner and strategy and money, right? Because I'm broke just like every other pastry chef. But the team, you can't do that. And we have a lot of discussions around this, like, oh, we should pick a regional team. And I even if you pick a regional team, right, like the Scott Green, John Krause, and Josh team, they're close, but John's still 6 hours away. John's still got to travel 6 hours. And I think so. You have options, right? You take a team take the best from all over and bring them in, which costs you money, right? Because now we're talking about tickets. We're talking about excessive luggage to get back and forth to practice, overweight luggage, time away from work.
How much does a practice cost?
We try to keep them the practices as reasonable as possible, but they were over $5,000 every session.
And that's with people staying at your house and you cooking, and it's like
that's using people's corporate discounts at the Marriott. I mean, it's trying to find everything. Yeah, we had Lloyd cooking for us. Lloyd,
that guy was great.
he was something.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was just nice because even in France, hey Lloyd, tonight we want this.
Let's wrap the commercial part of it. What does a sponsor get for that $500,000?
Well, so the more money the team can raise, the more tools and resources that the team has available to create or have the molds, bring in the consultants to help us design and recipe development, instead of these chefs trying to work their jobs plus do the food for the competition and do their showpieces. It lets us bring in more people, because as you start bringing in more people, again, you're bringing people from Europe. We could bring some coaches in. You bring people from all over, and that's so the more resources the team has available, the better they're going to perform at the competition.
I know, but I'm unsatisfied with that.
Thank you.
Here's why. You saw it in my face. So you ask me for $500,000, and I'll be like, "What's in it for me?" Love you guys, but what's in it for me? I would have answered.
Team USA underwear.
Nice. I would have answered. I didn't see that coming.
You want to see them?
I haven't written the check yet. So my idea is there needs to be somebody there documenting the story. You see where I'm going? Because as a sponsor, I want something to live on past the event. I want something that I can be playing in my corporate headquarters. This is when we sponsored Team USA. We have their video. Remember the DVCs? You walk down the hall, and there's all these pictures of these past guys, including. Did you know I scored that? Just had to bring that up. I was the most luckiest son of a bitch.
Well,
Anyways,
I think
that's where I'm going. So I'm saying the chefs think about what the team, how this, that, and the other. The sponsors, because it's always the same sponsors. So let's say I bring in a hedge fund guy. He wants social enhancement. Good job, guys. Hope your career goes well. But what do I want out of this? I want the African safari stories afterwards. And how do I point to that if I don't have a production afterwards? So a certain amount of that money needs to have the videographer with it. And this is just me throwing it your way.
Wait, what's going to blow your mind? Out of the 20 teams that were there, one team had that.
Who? Japan? See, look at that. I am right there with Team Japan. And do you know?
Except they were annoying.
Oh, really?
They were trying to get, it was a production company. It wasn't a bunch of chefs running around with cameras, and they were trying to get us to talk, what was the best thing you had today? What was the worst thing you had today?
Oh, you were their TV show.
They actually, they had contacted the team and asked them to talk, and then the team, as professionals, had decided against it because they saw the questions that they wanted to ask, and they felt that the questions they were asking were not fair.
So that's a grab. My idea was that the event, the team before the event, is what's captured, the build, the story, and then a little bit of what's happening there. But it's not about the other teams. They sponsored Team USA. So that's you're siloed in a way. There's interactions and stuff. But that was just my idea of if I was a sponsor. This goes back to the Pastry Live philosophy of how do we make content that lives longer than the event. The sponsors today, they're all tapped.
Sure, yeah, I agree.
Same thing again. Think of Midwest Imports, what they do for the teams. They don't have to. Their company's fine without, right?
Oh, we're a headache, yeah.
Yeah, so who cleans up? So I'm just thinking of what can live longer for sponsors, and I think that if we were to help with that approach, and so I think, well, what's in the pitch deck, And I don't think chefs have a pitch deck. And these things that I'm talking about are leading towards you wanted that kind of money. It's a different story you have to tell.
Well, I think, and not just the storytelling part, yes. And actually, Food Network contacted us about doing a reality show based around the selection.
Yeah, but you know where
process.
that goes.
Oh, I know where that goes, but that's why I was, So on the call with them, it was myself, our marketing guy, who's actually, I'm not going to say he's the best. I don't know too many marketing guys, but he did a good job compared to previous teams. Not even a marketing guy. He's still posting about the team, and then the loose cannon was also on the call.
Oh, really?
And
Is there a French cannon?
when you're pitching,
Is there Pink Panther?
he's pitching, and I'm already like 2 steps ahead, going, well, hey, if this is going to be the selection process, and they're like, what do you think if they're asking, they're like, well, what if we help select the team? And I was like, oh no.
I raised my eyebrows at that. I was like,
how about you select?
Is this a hand grenade?
The alternate. I can live with an alternate because the alternate doesn't do anything really. I go, we could do an alternate maybe, and then somebody else went off on a tangent and started saying, oh, there's nobody to do this stuff anymore. There's no money out there. And then, he's talking to the Food Network people like, well, then our sponsors will get pressed through your TV show. And I'm sitting there, I'm at home, and I'm like, they will not get, Nielsen Massey will not see any, it'll be blurred out, trust me. Their logo will be blurred out in the background.
Yeah, that's the switch, and what do you get? But all right, so I wanted to cover that. I didn't think about that at the beginning, but looking forward to a couple of years down the road, what matters for sponsorship, and how do teams get over this? I think we need outside culinary sponsorship. We need, on those race cars, it's like Xerox. I'm like, well, Xerox doesn't build cars, right? Yeah.
No, but I've said this before too. Even outside of culinary, if you can get an airline to sponsor you,
just to get in about town would be nice.
I mean, if you could.
Why doesn't Uber do that? Because you could use that a lot, right?
But if you could free up just the flights alone, and it wouldn't. I mean, one seat doesn't cost.
No, it's
that
not
much.
cash. That's right. There's cash value.
Yeah,
but
you're not asking for. No, I know. So towards the end, it was a little bit too late, and again, I was trying to think like forward because at the time I was planning to coach the next team. At this time, I'm still enjoying my freedom.
I know you're in detox.
Yeah, still yes.
What was the most beautiful moment that you saw Team USA have, either before, after, during?
Wow, that's almost like what's your favorite ingredient?
Oh,
that's a good question.
Oh, is it?
That's a good question.
I thought that was the bad question. Okay.
Wow, there was it's like.
No, yeah,
I'm scrolling through right now.
We got time. We got time.
I think my favorite team moment was when I got on the plane to come home. I'm just kidding. No, there was the night before we packed up the truck. So like we packed the truck Thursday around noon. We were packing up the truck. There was a little bug that went through the kitchen, and everybody caught it because it's a small kitchen. So it was just like, whose turn is it today? And Tuesday, Wednesday was my turn, and I still said I have to go in there, right? Like I can't leave them alone, nor did I want to. So we're there, we're working, and the mood, everybody kind of like dialed in, and not that the mood in the kitchen changed, but the focus changed. And I don't even think the team is aware that this happened, but because I wasn't competing, right, I could see this happening, and the kitchen went quiet. And it was really cool, and even just like the quiet in the room now is like giving me chills thinking about it. And they were all doing their things, and I was helping Julie get some things together and cook some of her ice cream bases and get that stuff set up for her so she could do stuff that I didn't know what she wanted done, but I can cook ice cream base, right? And I just remember when I was done, Julie was the captain, and when I was done, I went over to her, and I think it was probably 9:30 at night, and I said, Julie, the bases are done there in the cooler. I said, you guys are ready to go. And she looked at me like, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, first of all, I don't feel good, so I'm gonna go back to my room. I said, but there's nothing. I go, if there's something you can tell me you need me to do right now, I will absolutely do it for you. I said, there's something you think of tonight that you need me to do, I'll do it for you. And I just checked with all of them, and they were just like, we're good. And it's just when they, like, you knew mentally, you could tell mentally and physically they were ready to go.
Of course there's the yin and yang side of the story, but I'm going to word it differently. What do you think an individual competitor fears the most emotionally?
Emotionally?
I can see them fearing something crashing, something burning.
I think that would be. I think anyone building a showpiece, so if it's the chocolate or the ice, or I'm sorry, the chocolate or the sugar, yeah, it's going to be, is it going to break? Because obviously we build it in a way that it doesn't look heavy. I think if you're the ice carver, I think the biggest question is my block going to be tempered, right? Because if my block is tempered, I can do whatever I want. Unfortunately for us, the slot that we carved in, I think they just stopped tempering the blocks halfway through the competition because our block was solid. But I went over to Julie. She's like, she goes, it cracked. I go, and I just kind of was like, what are you going to say? Oh, well, no. I was like, hey, Julie, you're the ice carver for Team USA, man. You got to make this happen. Everybody's got their challenges today. Just do your thing. Get that ice carving out there. Do the best you can with what you have. People saw that I wasn't there to see the block break, but other people were talking about it. It's like everybody knew it happened. So it's just how do you recover from that? But I think you're right. I think even for when I competed, I think that was the biggest fear was, am I going to get this thing on the table?
Well, so does the team leave friends?
They did.
Okay.
It's funny you say that because I kept telling them, I said, when on my team, I was like, you always hear these horror stories, right? Of like these
divorces,
feuds
right?
For life, right? Or, even though we win, we hate each other now, or we don't talk to this one. But there's a bond once you compete in that kitchen. So like you're connected to all the other Coupe teams, because how many people have gone, right? 3 every year.
Yeah, right.
That's it. These guys are still friends. They just taught a class at Valrhona, middle of March, and it wasn't like trying to pull anyone's,
I saw a 40th video birthday of me at World Pastry Team Championship, and Beatrice arranged it. Everybody was wishing me a secret birthday, and there was a guy, Pierre, there. He was kind of this classy exec guy, and I thought, oh my God, that was 14 years ago.
Yeah, he's not there anymore. Because even the guy that was there,
after
when I was on the team, he went back to France. Is like one of their big shots in France now.
It's just amazing how that goes through. And I'm interested in, me, I always have a different take on a slightly different tank. And it's not even, I know you say about the molds and stuff like that, and it's less that for me now. It's shifted. I want to have people have creative shaping freedom, and molds offer that in some instances. But it's more about the integrity and the value of a creative process.
Well, I think too, you look at some of those pieces, like I was showing you the piece the Japanese team did. There were parts of it that I wasn't a big fan of, but there were other parts down low that that's, you look, and I get, right, you got this big thing coming up, and then you look and you go, okay, it's that whole piece was there, you know what I mean? It was there. And it didn't necessarily pull me down to the bottom, but when I went and looked at the bottom, I was like, man, there's a lot of cool stuff happening down here.
Well, you had front row seats though. Not everybody gets to see what you saw.
And that's what the pieces, and that's kind of like one of the judge from Team UK, and I can't remember his name. He was 2 seats over from me at the tasting, and like the first day, everybody's just. Day 2, you're starting to get bored, right? Because we all got like ADHD, and we're like, hey, what do you think? And then one guy looks over you like this and raises his eyebrow like.
The guy's like, you golf?
The guy's like, that was absolute crap. And then we're sitting there talking with, I think Tunisia was between us, and we're like, well, I really enjoyed your chocolate cake, and he's like, well, I really enjoyed your chocolate cake, and I was like, well, because they were very similar, but you're doing all this, and he said it best. Like France's piece 2 years ago was beautiful, but it was like what you would have seen for an MOF. It wasn't, when we think Coupe du Monde is large pieces. That's what scores well. That's what does well. So it's a little bit, in every competition, you have to know what your judges are looking for, and the judges that are there. I'm trained as a judge in this country, and I know what to look for. And some of the other judges are trained in some of these countries. This is their first time coming. I mean, there were some really sad stories for some of these countries that were there the first time. Not like, oh, that's too bad. Just like, they got there and they had nothing, and one of their team members couldn't even get in the country. So there's 2 in the kitchen instead of 3. One of the teams got in a car accident on the way to the competition in the morning. So they started like an hour late, but they still put everything up,
Whoa.
There's some really cool stories that no one's going to tell because these are the teams that are like the bottom third. But
how How many judges were women?
For sure one. There was one next to me.
How many judges in total?
There's one judge for every team, so I think it was 19.
See where I'm headed?
I think we had 19.
How many women producers are in this room?
You
One.
You didn't ask me what I identify as. I identify as a female producer.
I was joking. I identify as a camera. I was joking with my sister last night. I talk to her every night when I drive home. And we got onto this woke culture thing. And we don't talk about it on camera because we avoid it like the plague. And I said, you know, Amy, I'm more wakey than woke. And I said, and I'm more of a woke light. And she's like, what's that? I'm like, just don't be a dick. She's like, I think that's a good one. I think that's woke light. But anyways, there's always...
I'm trying to think who else was there.
How many women competitors? This is me. This is the setup. This is the call to action for the chefs.
France had one. Obviously, we had one. Italy had one. I'm trying to go through them all now. UK, no. There's another one, and I'm sure there's 4. The Asian countries, I would say there's probably one female per team on the Asian countries.
See, I would like to talk to the women chefs and see why, because I'm not into this just by the numbers thing. I just made it to bring up a point, and that point has been there since I was involved in the competitions. There was very few, and I asked this chef one time. I got an answer from her. I've said it on camera before, and I was at dinner with her. I don't remember her name, unfortunately. This was when I just got into it, like 03, 4, 5, whatever.
Oh, there was no
yeah,
one, right?
And I said, why aren't you? You're so talented. Why aren't you doing these competitions? And she's like, well, I play the guitar, I kickbox, I do. You know, she's like, I got kids, She had all these other things. She's like, I have enough fulfillment in my chef career that I don't want to tip everything into a competition when I have all these other things that I enjoy equally.
I think that's the thing now, is that everybody's like Julie again was talking about snowboarding.
Yeah, right.
And getting back in the groove of things. And
we had some storytelling in this segment. We have Absolute Joy. It's a play on the name. And I was telling my experiences of being in Chicago from Arizona, and so there was a lot of black, white in the story. And Anna's like, you know, we gotta be mindful of this. And so Jisun's on our team. She's black. And I was like, the other day at lunch, I'm like, Jisun, what's the deal? What do I say? And she's like, black is fine. She's like, I don't, you know, just another damn title I got to keep up with, and someone else is titling us, this, that, and the other. And the byproduct of that conversation that she said, she goes, look, she said, your story, she's like, they're from another time. And so we realized that we need to put a time on the thing. It's like, oh, you know, like it pops up like a little animation, 1986, right, to somehow frame it. The culinary tie-in, it's humorous and it's sad at the same time. So a certain Chef Laurent was teaching at the World Pastry Forum. And you know how he introduced his assistant? Chef Laurent, this is my assistant so-and-so. We've been working together for 12 years. And he looks at her boobs, but those are new. In front of a class. This was the culture that was accepted. And it's just like, and I talked with Laurent before he put a hit on me, and he said, "Oh yeah, we can't do that stuff anymore. You know, in the States you got to be." And I'm like, "Well, in the States, it's just like morals are." I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" So there's stuff, and even Frania joked with Stefan when she was just in his kitchen. She's like, "I was ready to jump at it." She had that great Spanish accent. She's like, "I was ready to jump at any moment in case a sheet pan came at me." I'm like, what? I'm like, are you joking? I'm nervous, I'm sweating, is this for real? And there's this weird antiquated culture that is rinsing, but it is so surprising that it's not so few years ago, that it was quite contemporary.
It was normal, right?
Normal.
When I was judging
nervous
this weekend, they were female pastry chefs, and they were from the same school, so we group critiqued them. Mm-hmm. And one of the chefs said, "Ladies," and I said, "You know what?" I go, "I'm with you on what you were just saying, okay?" But I'm like, you can't say that anymore.
Yeah,
like,
chefs.
You can't. Yeah, chefs. But Midwest, I can still call everyone guys, right? Hey, you guys.
Yeah, it's so this, like I said, wakey.
Yeah.
Don't be a dick.